Welcome to Night Court Narrative, where we're here doing a podcast, and right now we're doing all things Akatar.
Yep.
Today, we are on the second book. Oh, and by the way, I'm Aqua, and this is...
Elvish, hello.
Hello. And last episode, we just got to the very first book. Today, we're going on the second book.
Now I
The second book,
know,
it's Mist and Fury. A Cult of
yeah.
Mist and Fury.
And I believe we are only doing the first portion of the book, so this book is going to be split up into several episodes. So if you want to skip ahead, by all means, we'll have a playlist eventually. But right now, this is just the first part of Mist and Fury.
We are for sure covering part 1, The House of Beasts, and we might go a little bit further. I might do a chapter or 2 or 4 of this part 2, The House of Wind.
And as a disclaimer, like how we said in the first one, we are only covering things that happen in this specific book. More so, like I said in this video, only the first part. However, if it bleeds into another book, we will mention it, but we will stop and then continue on when that book arrives, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we're mostly going to be covering the first part of the second book. Sometimes some other things might be mentioned, either before or afterwards, but they'll just be mentions for later use.
But yeah, let's get into it.
Bat Boys for life.
What boys for life?
Bat Boys,
Oh.
Bat Boys. Yeah. Already started up strong.
Did not hear that. Was not the correct thing that I heard. Okay, every fucking episode. I swear. Let's get started before he continues.
What? What did Bat Boys for life? What's wrong with that?
All right, so we ended kind of weird with the last episode, if you remember. The biggest topic throughout the entire episode, I believe, was the redemption arc between Nesta and Tamlin. Unfortunately,
Unfortunately,
we don't really get a lot of Nesta in the beginning of the book, so this is mainly Tamlin. Or a recap on those who are coming from the first video or who did not watch the first video. We agreed that Tamlin, based off of the first book alone, does in fact deserve the redemption. However, I think it is my time to shine with giving Tamlin what he deserves. And I'm not sure if you agree, but it's about to get spicy.
Very spicy indeed. I just got done. Like I mentioned earlier, I just got done re-listening to the second book. I literally just got done today, and after it's been a while, I kind of forgot some of the things. And I know once we get into like episode 2 or 3 of this book, oh boy.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh boy, especially when it came to Tamlin, I'm just like, listening to it again. At first, when I first going through the book, I was kind of like, it's okay. I mean, I made some bad choices, And then listening to it again, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm kind of seeing where this is coming from now, and I'm just like, Tamlin, you're making this really difficult.
And not just necessarily Tamlin, but just as a whole. As a first-time reader, you skip over so many key details of the book, and listening to it again or like rereading it again, there are so many things that were mentioned in the book that are like key points that just flew right over our heads. And listening and like reading the book again, I am absolutely shocked with how much information Sarah J. Maas fed us at the beginning of the series that we didn't even consider until maybe the 4th or 5th book.
Yeah, I agree. I'm like, oh man, it's like listening to it again, as you mentioned, first going through it, you're kind of just going along for the ride, just getting the key points, the main narrative of the story for the most part. But listening to it again, when you already know certain things, and then going back to it, it makes even more sense and I think this, not saying like this book is difficult, but this book definitely, I would say, gets more, I guess
Intricate,
like not
maybe?
more. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think that that's a good word. Intricate when it comes to rereading it again, because then you start realizing, oh, I missed a few things. Oh, this makes sense
Yes.
now. You benefit a lot more rereading it again, or
Ooh, I
coming
like
back
that.
to it at least. Yeah,
Benefiting.
yeah,
I like that. That
mhm,
word
benefiting.
that word really describes the second reread, and I can't get over it. But I do have a theory that I didn't I didn't quite get the first time I read the book, or even the
Mm-hmm.
whole series for that matter, and now rereading it, I have a theory and I feel like I'm going to break you again.
Uh-oh.
But before we get there, before it's I have like two key points, or not necessarily key points, but just talking about Tamlin and the redemption. Tamlin is a horrible person in this book.
Oh, we're going straight off the band-aid, huh? We're just ripping
Oh
it right off,
no,
aren't we?
we're not even ripping it off, we're just sawing off the leg at this point. So, at the beginning of the book, we find out. I mean, we already find out at the end of the book of the first of Akatar that they make it back. So when we start Akomath, we are already balls to the wall, gung ho, whatever the phrase is,
Mm-hmm.
in the Supreme Court. And right off the bat, Feyre begs Tamlin to let her into the village with him and Lucian to help rebuild, the village in the Spring Court. He
Mm-hmm.
has the audacity, right, to say, and I quote, "It is too dangerous." Are we talking about the same Feyre, the same used to be human that went against Amarantha, the worm, the Ator, literally, I mean, with Rhysand's help, survived under the mountain to come back, save all of Prithian, and then just to go and rebuild a village is too dangerous? Like I'm clearly fucking confused, right? Like I am so
Yeah.
thoroughly confused by that. And you know, without Faye's strength, like it was mentioned in the second book that she is extra strong, she is extra powerful, she has extra speed, extra everything that the normal Fae and High Lords didn't have. She has all of that now, and Tamlin just like completely disregards all that and ignores everything that she did as a human. But now rebuilding a village is, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I will say add into this. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily defending Tamlin, but the situation, in case that the readers need a reminder, at the end of the first book, Feyre, um, did end up dying and becoming remade as Fae, thanks to the 12 High Lords.
7.
Um, or did I say 12? Did I
You
just say
did.
12? Oh my god. 7. 7 High Lords. I'm sorry, it's just, Daddy Ray just counts as more than one. But anyways, 7 High Lords, they all basically remade her with using their power. And there's more that happens further on. We'll kind of, actually, I think in this first part we do delve into it of her extracurricular abilities. But even at the very beginning of the book, she was struggling to get adjusted to her mortal body.
Yeah.
Accidentally like busting things up, and I think she bent metal by accident like quite a few times,
Like
things like that.
forks. Yep. She
Yeah.
even broke a few vases, I believe.
Hmm.
Or
Yeah.
bosses, I guess, if you're rich.
Voss, yes, and even Alice had to remove anything that was important around Feyre to
I could
keep
only
to save
imagine
them.
that too. Can you only
That's funny.
imagine Alice, the look on her face? I could literally picture it like perfectly.
Just like it's like a new owner with a puppy.
Yes.
But not only that, of course, I did mention last time, the trauma for both characters, Feyre and Tam. Now, I'm not saying that there's an excuse for Tamlin. I I I wholeheartedly believe that the way he did things was not bueno, and both were struggling horribly bad. I do believe that in the book, I think it mentioned at some point, I maybe it might be later on, but I think it was kind of roughly mentioned in the very beginning of how Amarantha did successfully break both Tamlin and Feyre.
Yeah.
You know, to the point of like it's just too much.
No, absolutely. And as much as I do agree with that, because I do feel like Farah's trauma is something that a lot of readers overlook. A lot of readers don't
Mhm.
want to dive deep into her trauma, so they just don't really, I want to say, understand her as a character because I mean, I'm going to use the word intricate again. Farah is a very intricate character. There's a lot that goes
Mhm.
into her and her character development, but a lot of people look past it because of the amount of trauma that is there. But I know
I think
specifically.
another. Go ahead.
No, 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 no. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, I think another good word for Feyre would be also complex as well, intricate and
Yes.
complex, and
Yes.
and to enforce your trauma like being talked about with for Feyre. I think the same kind of goes for Tamlin, but like I said, I'm not defending Tamlin. I'm just kind of showing kind of both sides of the coin, if that makes sense.
Oh no, absolutely. And it's kind of
Yes.
like picking up where I was just at because complex is actually the perfect word for it. I'm glad you said that.
Hmm.
But we talk about both of Tamlin and Feyre's traumas at the beginning, but every time Tamlin has a nightmare or a trigger that reminds him of Under the Mountain and the 50 years with Amarantha, he completely shuts down, shoves her away, refuses to talk. He does absolutely everything that you shouldn't do. Like claws come out,
Hmm.
beast form happens, everything like that. Feyre, on the other hand, will get up, run to the bathroom, throw up, have a ton of anxiety, a ton of depression, and never in there, like in the chapter, she mentions how every time he has a nightmare, she always springs up and tries to talk him down. But every time she does, he gets overly angry, and that's when things start breaking.
Or
However,
nothing.
or nothing, absolutely.
Yeah. I think it was mostly nothing. I think like one or
And
two times he was angry.
Yeah. Like most of the time he would just I it said in the book that he would just sit at the end of the bed and then just say nothing. Just be a beast watching the door.
Hmm.
But there was a point in the book, and as heartbreaking as it is, I truly feel like he was awake the entire time because there is a quote. I'll read it off here. It says, "Sometimes I wondered if I heard his breath catch, only for a heartbeat. I never had the nerve to ask if he was awake." I I truly feel
Mm.
like he just didn't care. And I mean that with giving Tamlin the benefit of the doubt because if you go back and watch the very first episode, I am team Tamlin 100%.
Yeah.
And like in this book, she did everything she could at the very beginning to, I guess, not fix, I don't want to say fix, but to help aid him with all of his trauma. But anytime her trauma came up, he just ignored it, shoved it under the rug. It didn't matter. And I think that was very damaging in the long run.
Yeah. Like I was mentioning earlier, the way how he went about it was just not good. And eventually, I think even Feyre tried to kind of like give him an excuse and said that it was kind of like an unspoken agreement that we would just not talk about it.
No,
So at
absolutely.
some point, she just, conceded to it.
And of course we're about to go back because I want to continue with the very beginning, but if we even skip ahead, I believe it's chapter 17, I think.
Mhm.
Feyre, once again, this is now to the point where skipping ahead, this is where Feyre is already in Valeris. She has yet another nightmare where now fire starts coming out of her fingertips. We'll touch base on that in a minute.
Mhm.
But she runs to the bathroom again to throw up, and Rhysand meets her in the bathroom, holds her hair, and spends the rest of the night while she's getting sick telling him stories of how his nightmares are, how his nightmares became a thing, how Amarantha, like he could just see Amarantha pinning Azriel and Cassian's wings down as he watched, so on and so forth. So it went from no one giving a shit that Feyre was upset, sick, hurting, to the very first nightmare she has in the night court. Rhysand is there, quite literally by her side the entire time, talking her down, telling her, excuse me, about his trauma. Like that just shows the dynamic between like Tamlin versus Rhysand.
Yeah, huge difference. I mean, at the very least, I mean, even if Ray Sand didn't even like talk to her, at least he was there. Because
Exactly.
Tamlin just stayed at the foot of the bed as a beast, or just in bed and just let her do her thing.
I mean, quite literally didn't care.
Yeah, just didn't do anything. Just like doing nothing can be really damaging than at least attempting to do something. You know, if that makes sense. I
No,
don't know if
yeah,
that makes sense.
that makes absolute sense. And I
Yeah.
think that, and again, we'll get there because I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I think with this whole, I want to say, journey that Feyre is going through, she needed that. Even if it was just holding the hair, like you said, not even saying anything, she needed that more than anyone. And she needed that from, I wouldn't necessarily say Rhysand, but she needed that from just someone that cared.
In general, just in
Yeah.
general.
Just someone
Yeah.
that actually had her best interests at mind. Anyone.
Yeah, I agree. Just, I mean, even if it's just like a hand to the back, or or like a hug, or at least even just asking, "Are you okay?"
Which,
You know,
I
I think even
mean,
that alone would have went miles, or
oh,
at least would have
absolutely.
been better. Yeah.
She even mentioned around that time too, maybe like chapter 11 to chapter like 15ish, she even mentioned that the only reason why um she fell in love with Tamlin is because he was the very first person that showed her any amount of kindness when she was broken. And it wasn't necessarily about her actually being in love with him, but it was just someone finally showed her a bit of compassion and she lunged for it, and it didn't matter if that meant she was going to spend her eternity being his own personal pet.
Yeah. I think even this also is like kind of further deeper into the chapter, or into the book, to where I think she admitted that to herself at some point. I
No,
believe.
absolutely.
I think that was during the winter. Well, the not the winter. The when she was at the Illyrian war camp.
Yes.
There, the whole training montage was happening. You gotta say it correctly. If it's a training montage, you gotta be training montage. You gotta do it correctly.
I can just hear like the Rocky music in the background.
We would play it, but copyright.
No, right?
I did a
Damn
little
it,
like
YouTube.
double snap and point the finger, like finger guns, pew pew. Yeah.
Well, I have a theory that I kind of want to
Ooh,
go
I'm
over,
excited.
and I feel like I'm going to break you.
Ooh, I'm
So,
ready.
with this theory, the first time reading the book, I didn't even think this. None of this crossed my mind. But the second time reading the book, it was so apparent. It was plain as day. Like, literally, Sarah J. Maas quite literally picked the book up and threw it in my face. And, Sarah, I didn't appreciate that, but I appreciated it all at the same time. Mommy, please do it again. Anywho, moving
Me with
forward.
Amarin. Me with Amarin.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh, are you ready?
I'm ready. Been ready. Born
So,
ready.
born ready? I don't think you were born ready for this one.
I have my emotional support coffee cup here, just in case.
Ugh, not the coffee cup.
The emotional support coffee cup.
So, okay, this has to do with Ianthe.
Oh.
Yeah, uh-oh. As everyone knows, or if you were unaware, Ianthe is trash. But I truly and personally think that Ianthe had her own agenda with the Spring Court.
Oh, I agree. I so agree.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Oh, I am so extra pumped for this right now then. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, I want to go as far as saying that she was jealous of Tamlin and Feyre's relationship. She wanted to turn Feyre into her own personal puppet. A quote
Mm-hmm.
shows, right? A
Yeah,
union
yeah.
with Tamlin A High Lord and a High Priestess would send a clear message of strength to any possible threat to our lands. And then another quote says, Tamlin was the one who paid for my everyday clothes. It was Ianthe's eye that selected them. And then we, whatever. Okay, pause. I'm getting so like passionate about this. I'm like jumping the gun. Okay, so then think about it. Having Feyre, the curse breaker, marry Tamlin would be a major demotion in her eyes. How would I say this? She's trying to quite literally control the Spring Court. It would be easier to make her own personal doll obedient to ensure that she keeps away from any bit of power and the opportunity to influence Tamlin's decisions. But Tamlin even chooses Ianthe's word over Lucian Feyre's multiple times at the beginning of the book. It has been discussed in later books too that she is attracted to men of power. She believes she would be a better suited mate for Tamlin rather than a once human that knows nothing of Fae tradition. And oh my god, because it's like I said too, in later books, it mentions that she is obsessed with anything power. She is the Hisoka of Akutar. But
oh my god.
Like it had to be said. But like
But no, I agree. I totally agree.
Oh, absolutely. So, and if you think too, oh, okay, hold on, let me finish.
I know I have so much to. I have like a disclaimer, and I have so much that I can look for to kind of like support what you're saying.
Oh my god. Okay, I am almost done. I promise. So.
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh.
I know you're pumped up. I can feel it through the Discord call right now.
No, absolutely. And okay, so with that being said, she crept her way into Feyre's subconscious to ensure her power over her. So from the first chapter she's in, I don't know if you heard that, but something just fell, and now my heart is in my asshole.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So from the first chapter Ianthe is in, she tries to already sabotage their relationship, and I want to say that she's fully obsessed. Feyre even mentions, I was too watched, too monitored, and judged. That was in chapter 2. She forces Feyre to wear the most hideous dress that even Tamlin was against, all because she said it would send the quote-unquote best message. So from day one, Ianthe is already trying to sabotage their relationship, and then Tamlin is over there twirling his man bun, not even thinking anything of it. And then every time Lucian even comes forward and says, hey, maybe this is not right. Oh, it's okay because Ianthe said.
Yeah.
Excuse me? Okay, continue.
Also,
now it's your turn.
also, for one thing, poor man bun. Come on now. Leave the man bun alone. Not Tamlin. I'm just saying the man bun in general.
I mean, the man bun on Cassian is fine. The man bun on Tamlin just seems like a prick.
Yeah, he didn't pull it off correctly. But to go off what you said, I completely agree. Ianthe definitely was in it for herself.
Oh, absolutely.
Because she was definitely obsessed. One, like you said, Feyre is the curse breaker. Feyre is the one who freed them from under the mountain. Imagine being the one. What she was trying to do was groom both of them into swaying towards her side. And of course, Ianthe, like you said, she was delving into her mind, not literally like a
not like a
Damati.
Rhysand thing.
Yeah, I believe they call them Damontes.
Yes.
But you know, she was doing it the old-fashioned way, the silver tongue way, the I'll be your your shoulder to lean on. And knowing what happened later on in the book, makes me so mad. I don't know who I hate more, Ianthe or Tamlin, but that's a whole different discussion.
To be honest, me personally, and we'll get into it later on, but I'm leaning more towards Ianthe.
Okay, then we're in agreement. It's definitely Ianthe.
I think Ianthe because
they go more towards the end for me on the reason why.
Yes. And then I know Tamlin is a horrible person, but also if you take everything into perspective, I know I hate Tamlin. I've already said that. I know the first book I was Team Tamlin. I hate Tamlin so much. However, if you didn't have Ianthe, in Feyre's ear and in Tamlin's ear, would he have been necessarily as bad as he truly was? I mean, yes. Don't get me wrong,
I think
yes,
it would have
but
taken longer. I think it would have taken longer for
I
him to
think
be that
so.
bad.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
so.
But yeah, no, I completely agree. Anthony was definitely self-serving, and also, as you were saying, obsessed with them two, about them doing whatever. I also want to remind the folks, you and the folks, that she was also trying to get, herself, in bed with a certain, autumn court son,
Yes,
my
absolutely.
boy Lucian. Yeah, and
Oh,
Lucian was like,
absolutely.
nah, fam, I'm good. I'm here for the homies.
Oh, yeah,
Sort
he was not having it one bit, and that really set her off. And that's
mm,
when I believe she became a little bit more obsessed with Feyre at the point, or at that
oh,
specific
yes.
point.
Especially since Feyre does look at Lucian a lot in terms for help, which also, man, okay, so this is kind of like the ranking of who I'm like really pissed off. Ianthe's number one, close second is Tamlin, and not too far off is Lucian. But for
Yes.
Lucian, like, I I feel mostly, I don't feel like I'm mad at him, but I don't hate him. I mostly feel bad for him, because Lucian is just like his longtime friend, and the person that he needed help, it was Tamlin.
Oh, yeah,
Knowing
absolutely.
his history, like Lucian, like he feels like he owes Tamlin so much, and like his loyalty is pretty much his payment. And he tried. He did a few attempts, not as much, but he at least attempted a few times to kind of help out. He said like, okay, I will try to talk to him, or he'll try, or he'll cringe, or and I don't know how many times Tamlin snarled and bared his teeth at him. It happens very often in the very few chapters of the book, and I kind of forgot about how often he did it. And it was a very toxic friendship.
Oh, absolutely. I don't
Lucian.
even really think it was a friendship. It was basically just Tamlin found someone that he could easily manipulate, and being stuck in the spring court because of Amarantha's curse, it kind of
Mhm.
just turned into a, well, I'm here forever, so might as well get used to it type thing.
Yeah, well, but yeah, I believe that. But the other side too is that Tamlin did help out Lucian, because when Lucian lost his eye because of Amarantha, Tamlin was the one who called in a favor to get him a new eye, which we learn later on where that was from.
Yeah.
Which I really hope in the next books we get to talk more into it. But but yeah, no, I mostly feel bad for Lucian, but I'm so pissed because I he does make a lot of excuses for Tamlin, which he's just trying to be a bro, but still, there's a line, you know.
Well, and then that's the thing too, because the first time going through the books, I've seen where, and don't get me wrong, I am never going to speak ill about Lucian because I truly love him as a character and I truly think that he's the bestest boy. However, the first time
I want
going,
to say best is, but he's a good boy for sure.
oh, he is a good boy. But like going through the first book, you kind of think that like Lucian is the only one to never fully lie and never fully go against Feyre. And it is known that like people on TikTok agree with that. However,
Mm.
doing a reread, the first I want to say the ending of the first book and the beginning of the second book, Lucian is never on Feyre's side.
Hmm. That's okay. Well, I don't know about that. Maybe on the end of the book, yes. On the end of the first book, I agree with that. Mostly because it was kind of a weird setup, in my opinion. But I agree on that part. I think on the first book, or not. I'm sorry, not the first book. The beginning of the second book, I think he tried, but he caved so easily. I think that's why people believe it that way, because he did cave very easily. Like he gave it like one shot, and Tam was like, "No, bear's teeth." It's like, okay, you know.
I still feel like Tamlin, this is a side note, I'm sorry to interrupt. I feel
No,
like
you're good.
Tamlin is that little chihuahua that likes to,
Not a chihuahua.
like, you know, the little chihuahua that sees like a pit bull on the other side of the fence and likes to go crazy when the pit bull is just standing there doing absolutely nothing. So then the owner comes
Mhm.
by and picks them up with one hand and carries them inside. That's Tamlin.
Lucian is the one that's picking up the pit bull, or not the pit bull, the chihuahua.
Yes.
Oh my god. But at the same time, the pitbull could be also Lucian too, because he does try. I I am more Team Lucian than anything else in terms of like the Spring Core.
But
I am
then think
definitely
about
Team
it
Lucian.
though. Like if Lucian was so adamant on being with Feyre and helping her, he would not have gone. I mean, okay, I understand Tamlin's word is law. I understand that. And he even makes that clear in I think like chapter 3 or something. He makes it
It
very
makes it
clear
clear very often as
very very
well.
often because in the spring court, the way that Tamlin runs his court is that my word is law whether you like it or not. What I say goes. And
Hmm.
Tamlin makes Lucian flat out lie to Feyre on how he got injured when he went up against Sanaga.
It was like what,
And
5 Nagas or something like that?
something
Couple of
like
Nagas?
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think lying to her benefits her in the long run at all. But
Mm.
technically, if you think about it in the Spring Court, yes, it does because she's supposed to just sit there by his side, be quiet, and wear dresses and look pretty. But like in the long
The
run,
trophy wife.
right? But in the long run of her like sanity and her mental health, making him lie to her like that and having him openly go along with it does absolutely nothing for Feyre.
Yeah. Or for Lucian either, because it just hurts him more than anything. Because he didn't
Exactly.
want to. Even he, I think at some point it even said, I think it even said that he cringed at that fact, that he hated it.
Also,
Um,
like,
yeah, I know he said he hated it
he
very much.
did.
Yeah.
He absolutely did. And then on the same topic of like Tamlin and Ianthe, this kind of goes back into my theory. There is a part in the beginning where Ianthe specifically says, "What color do you want?" As in like flowers and stuff like that. And she starts naming like, let's say pink, blue, yellow. And then Feyre's like, I don't care, just choose. And so she's like, okay, well, how about red? Feyre clearly states, I do not want red. Under
Mm.
no circumstances will red be at my wedding. And Ianthe's like, oh, like noted, absolutely. And, we discover, through her nightmares that red reminds her of Amarantha's hair alongside the blood that came from when she killed those three fae. So red is a very like triggering trauma for her.
Well,
And
it was two Fae that died. The third one,
well,
remember, was a fake because it was Tamlin.
yeah, which she ended up,
Amarantha pulled a switcheroo on her.
yeah. But then with my theory though, if you remember, and we're kind of skipping ahead just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit, if you
Mm-hmm.
remember when she gets to her own wedding, nothing but red flowers scattered everywhere.
Oh yeah,
Which
the red was it rose petals, something
I
like that,
believe
just all over
so,
the place. Yeah,
just
something
scattered
like
all
that.
around. And that's what made her go into another like trauma
Panic attack.
response. Yeah, she
Yeah.
just like full on has a panic attack. And Tamlin didn't give a shit. Ianthe, no cares. Not a single one. And I it doesn't actually say anything about Lucian in that specific chapter, I believe, but no one in the Spring Court even cared.
Well, another thing that didn't help out either is that they never talked about it. Nothing was ever mentioned. So even if whether Tamlin cared or not, he just has no idea. He's completely like he's dumb about it because he's like, oh, what's going on? Why you don't like it? Why you didn't like that?
Exactly.
Why is it no bueno? And Ianthe is like, hey, hey, red makes her go burr in a bad way.
Excellent.
Yeah.
But then you
And
have Feyre
she's like,
deep
yeah.
down.
Oh my god, I just had Mr. Burr just bird in my head now. Ba-doom-ts. Sorry, sorry.
No, and then you have Feyre in her mind. I mean, literally, she's help me, help me, help me, like pleading for her life, for someone to just come and rescue her, to get
Mhm.
her out of the situation, to get her out of the Spring Court, and no one gives a fuck.
Yeah. They don't understand. Nothing was done about it. They didn't talk. Tamlin didn't try to reach out the way he should have.
No,
That's why it
absolutely not.
shows that he doesn't care because he didn't try to reach out. He just decides just leave it be and then just tried to, make it seem like everything's fine. Doing all the laws and things like that.
And the
and it's
way
just
he
it's dumb of how he runs things because he said he runs it like his
exact
father does it or
exactly.
something like that.
And the way he runs it, it's basically like if I don't notice it and if I don't acknowledge it, it'll eventually fix itself. And that's not how life works.
That is not healthy. I may not be a psychiatrist, but if the math is correct, that does not equal healthy.
And then I still want to talk about Tamlin, but I know we're skipping ahead a little bit again because at this point, um, you know, talking about the wedding, that's when now if you think about it, it's been 3 months now at this point. It's been
Mhm.
3 months under the mountain. If you remember, Rhysand and Feyre had a bargain. He basically let her live. He fixed her broken bones, all that good stuff.
And the infection because she got infected
Yep,
after the fight of the worm, right?
the worm. I think it was the
Yeah.
mud that she was in and all that. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
The open gash.
so with fixing her, he started a bargain with her. Basically, every month for the rest of your life, you're going to come to the night court and you're going to spend time with me. Fast forward to where we're
For like
at
a week,
now.
right?
Yeah, it's like come to the night court every month for a week, for like 7 days. But now,
Like
fast
once
forward
a
to where
week.
we are, right? It's been
Mm-hmm.
3 months. We haven't heard anything from Rhysand at all. But then, out of nowhere, he pops up at the wedding. He's like, "Sup, fam?" And he's just
How's it
there.
hanging? Mm-hmm.
And I I like in the book it kind of oh my god, it kind of does a thing where like when you reread the book, Feyre's like, "Oh, a savior is here." But then on her face and out loud, she's like, "I don't want to go with you, Mr. Sexy Batman."
Oh no.
Oh no. But then like
Uh-oh.
in her like in her head, she's like, "Thank God he's here." And without any regret or any second like decision or anything, she goes with him and he takes her to the night court.
Mm-hmm. I think she did feel a little guilty the fact that she left and leaving Tamlin at the altar, but at the same time, like I kind of don't blame her on both accounts because of how everything was set up. Not to mention one, she like going back to the whole trauma thing. She said no red
Mhm.
at the wedding. Red's everywhere, thanks to Ianthe being a little Tamlin not knowing what's going on. He's like, what happened? What happened? Lucian's also the same as well. And then of course Feyre goes into a really bad panic attack. I think we need to emphasize the fact that how bad that panic attack was.
Yeah.
Because sure the other one they vomited, but at the same time, like she was alone. Or,
Yeah.
Tamlin was well, I guess Tamlin was there, but not there.
I mean, but he
But
was
this time
never
there's
there.
so many exactly. But now there's so many people there watching her during
Yep.
her wedding.
Yep.
And then of course given that like you mentioned as well, the bargain gave her a bond with Rhysand, and so as she was in her mind, Rhysand being Diamante basically means she can he can read the minds and then go into their minds and know what's going on and what they're saying, even can see what they're doing, through emotions or whatever they send. And Rhysand heard her, and
Mhm.
he was like, I'm going. I'm
Well, and
going.
then that's a part too. At the wedding too, I believe it said in the book as well that kind of like what I just mentioned, Feyre pleaded with Tamlin and begged him to keep her away from Rhysand, but then Tamlin basically just threw up his arms and said, whatever, you can take her. Have fun. Have her back by midnight. Like, he gave zero, absolutely zero fucks about whether Rhysand took her. He didn't care.
I mean, I don't kind of blame Tamlin. I mean, Rhysand's kind of a big honking man, if you know what I mean. I don't blame Tamlin. It's kind of hard to go against a Chad, a Giga Chad like that. Hi, I'm Aqua, and I'm cringe.
Dun, 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 dun.
Exactly what it's in my mind too. Oh my god. But yeah, I mean, Tamlin, I'm sure he yelled, he demanded, but he knows there's nothing he can do because of the bargain. No matter what, whether he cared or not, it's Fey law. You have to go by the bargain.
Yeah. But
It's
then
it's
once
just
we
it's like a natural rule, you know, or like a rule of nature, I guess. Natural
yeah,
rule of nature. If that's kind of how I'm
Wheel of
referring it
Fortune.
to. Like it's the law of the land. I don't know if I said that already, but law of the land.
And like once he ends up taking her away. Now this is the very first time he had ever gone out of the spring court besides under the mountain. But
Yeah.
once she gets to the night court, it is without a doubt so clear that Farah thinks the night court is the most beautiful place she has ever seen in her life. Um and that's when we learn that the night court is one of the 3 solar courts. We have the 3 solar courts, which is the night court, the day court, and
The Dawn Court.
yeah, and then we have the season courts, which is like the spring court, the autumn
Yes.
court.
The Winter Court and the Summer Court.
But I guess for those who aren't too keen on the books, the solar courts are the ones that actually go through seasons and go through night and day. So it's morning, afternoon, night, summer, winter, spring. But like the spring court, it's always spring.
Yeah. I mean, they get nighttime too, but they're perpetual spring.
Yeah.
Summer Court is perpetual summer.
Yep.
Winter is perpetual summer, and so on and so forth.
But the night court, it'll be 80 degrees outside, and then the next day it'll snow. I mean, not literally the next day because, not Texas.
I mean, it could if there's, if there's strange weather conditions. I'm pretty sure it'll happen.
Well, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah. Here live at the weather news here at the next here at Night Court Valor's Weather Channel. Today would be a nice crisp sunny day. Tonight, however, there is hail. So don't be flying out, folks. Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
I'm glad my mic didn't pick up the wheeze.
Yeah. Oh no, we need the wheeze. We need the wheeze.
Oh my god. But
Excuse me,
yeah,
folks, I'm very dumb.
this is where we also find out that, like, Reese becomes very open with Feyre almost immediately. He starts telling Feyre about how he can slip into people's minds, which she already knew because, of course, that happened to her in the manor in the first book. But when she relaxes, she practically shouts all of her thoughts at him, and that's how he knew that she was hurting and wanted someone to save her. So that's kind of how we get like a little backstory of I guess why he showed up, because they're connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the bond, like certain times, like I think he mentioned like how many times like she's vomited, and so he would just get like visions and sensations of that. And then I think it's usually when her emotions are like super high or like intensified is when he gets most of them.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like 90, like 95% when her emotions are like at their peak or like at their most intense. That's when he got them, because that's how he knew. And the strongest was obviously during the panic attack at the wedding.
And of course, one of my favorite things that I read, and I don't know if you heard this too or if you caught this, but he mentions the only time he ever goes into her mind is when he can't tell if she's having a nightmare or if she's actually in danger. So
or alive, because I think he mentioned that also.
Yes. So I know at the beginning of the book you kind of read it like, damn, like he's always going into her mind. But he's not. Whenever she gets so high on emotions and her depression just kicks in so much, there's no telling if someone is invading the spring court and she's trying to survive for her life, or if she's just remembering her time under the mountain. So he kind of slips into her mind to see what's going on, and then that's how he was able to relax.
That, and like to go along with that too, because the reason why he's able to feel all that is because she's sending it unknowingly because of that bond.
Yeah.
And I think it mentioned that sometimes too, it's where he felt absolutely nothing. That even when he tried to like quote unquote caress it, because I think he said he tried to caress it like 1 or 2 times and he felt
Yes.
nothing. I think that was when her desolation was at its like at its peak, to where she was like so empty to where even Ray Sand couldn't even feel anything. So I think that's why he mentioned, I wonder if you're even alive in the first place, because I think there's like a literal quote that says it on the book. I'm very bad at like I'm very bad at like finding out the exact quote, but I know you know what I'm talking about, and those who
Yeah.
are listening should know what I'm talking about also, or at least understand it, because that's pretty much what they allude to, or well, not allude, but that's pretty much what it's stated. I'm kind of giving the Spark Notes version,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Well,
Yeah.
and then I guess if you haven't gathered this yet, I personally read, well, I kind of do both. I read the book and sometimes I'll listen to the audiobook if I'm out, but Aqua specifically only reads audiobooks. So, or I guess listens to audiobooks. So,
No, it's read.
I read,
Yeah, yeah, read, definitely read audiobooks. Yes.
but because I have the book in front of me, I typically have exact quotes, but then with Aqua, he knows the quotes, but then paraphrases, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So both points
You
are
know,
valid.
me and Elvish know each other for so long. We've been into high school and everything like that, and we had English class together. I think we could tell who was the one copying notes from someone else and looking at their tests.
Ah, my
Yeah.
god. But yeah, there's
I'm so bad at those. I'm so bad.
going up of what you just said too. There were times as well where Resand even clearly said that when she got so overly upset without
Hmm.
knowing it, she put a shield up and he couldn't get through. So he would try and caress her
Oh, that's
mind
right.
to
That's
relax her, but he couldn't get through her shield to get into her mind. So
and
he
she was
was locked out.
completely unaware. Yeah, she was completely
Absolutely.
unaware. Yeah.
But then whenever we're in the like where we're at right now in the night court, he even mentions how he wants to train her to be able to put that shield up and keep it up.
To go against people like him, the
Yeah.
Damati.
Yeah.
Because there's more than just them. There's others. That's what he's alluding to. That there's other people who are like that, who don't exactly belong to his court. And if they do, they don't exactly align with him.
Which I mean, I guess I'm gonna look back on this question and probably regret it later with like this double read, but
Hmm.
I don't think it ever mentions other people that can do that. Yeah.
I could have sworn it did at some point, because he did mention to defend or to protect yourself from people like me.
Well, yeah,
So,
but we never meet. Like we never. I don't think we ever meet
oh yeah,
any.
no, we don't actually meet any other ones. It was just like it was just mentioned
Yeah.
that
Okay.
there are others. Yeah, that's how I meant to say it. For other potential people who may or may not have that. If that
But
makes sense.
no, yeah, that makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
And then even at this part, like this is when we find out that Resand wants to help Feyre how to read and write.
Yeah.
Which, if you go back to the first one, Tamlin let her be in the library and gave her paper, but he never actually did anything to lift a finger to help her read or anything. And this is the first time we're hearing that Rhysand wants to take on that responsibility on like his own shoulders and teach her how to read.
Yeah. Tamlin, I think he knows that he knows
He knows.
he knows that Fei is likes to paint. So at least the one thing Tamlin did try to do, but did not catch on to the signs. I know you want to get back to Tamlin, and now I kind of do too, because it just reminded me about this, which kind of just irks me about Tamlin. I mean, gosh, but Tamlin was giving her supplies to paint only,
Well,
which is good in a way. Painting can be
yeah.
used as a catharsis, but Feyre needed more. Unfortunately, the painting was, the love for it was taken from her because of Amarantha
It
and
was.
what she put her through, and she was too desolate to be able to paint, because she would
And
have to face her emotions and everything.
well, and then that's the thing too, because I guess I have one more point before we get back to Tamlin.
Hmm.
Just for this specific part. Um, At this point, too, Resand even made a comment, and I believe this might be the comment that gets the shoe thrown at his head. I don't remember that. Don't quote me on that. But he even mentions that when he took Farah from the wedding, he described her as being wrapped up like a present for Tamlin, kind of like she was his reward.
Oh yeah, no. I think that was almost verbatim in the book. Actually, I think that was verbatim.
And not on Resand's part, that's disgusting.
Hmm.
But that also goes towards like what we were saying earlier with Ianthe and Tamlin. They only want Feyre to quite literally be the trophy wife. You sit there, you cross your legs, specifically at the ankles, you put your hands in your lap, and then you sit there and you just nod. That's all you do. You don't speak, you don't read, you don't write, you don't do anything because you keep that from me because I am chest bump big man.
Hmm. Yep, I agree.
But then I want to skip this part because I do want to go back to Tamlin because now we're on this. Um, Farah, we're skipping now a few days. Now we're back in the spring court. As soon as Farah arrives, it's not a "How are you? I missed you. Here, come eat, come do this." No, immediately, immediately, he brings her in. She notices that absolutely everything is trashed. She notices the study, along with half of the manor, is completely torn apart. And then, rather than showing, obviously his newly like made fiance love, he begins interrogating her on any and all information regarding the night court. To which she tells him what Reese said about her powers, and Tamlin gets mad, swears that there will be no training taking place, and then he scolds her about it.
Hmm.
And I
Another thing
don't
too is
like
that
that.
I think he said almost like word for word that with her untrained talents and abilities would be considered a liability. Literally called her a
Absolutely.
liability. I think that's a
No.
little further later on, but it my gosh, it just goes exactly to what you're saying because he just doesn't help.
No, he doesn't. And then even Ianthe, he says it once. I think Ianthe says it twice, but they say that they don't want Feyre to get any training because eventually, if word gets out that she has powers, the High Lords are going to come after her.
Hmm. She gets a
Which
big old target
obviously,
on her back.
yeah, and to which we find out that's completely false.
Yeah, not every High Lord wants to attack her. We'll
Yeah.
see a specific certain seasonal High Lord, that of one of our good boys, his father, cough cough. But
But then,
yeah, no, it's just and okay, and
it's
think of it this
horrible.
way. Okay, just whether regardless of who they are, if you're gonna be a big old target, and it's gonna come out eventually, for one thing, you know, and second, if you're gonna be, a target, wouldn't it be better to be able to defend yourself?
Exactly.
And it goes to more of what Ianthe and Tamlin, Ianthe trying to control, is that Ianthe just says, "Oh, well, he'll just protect you from anything." I was like, well, if that was the case, then kind of didn't do much at the under the mountain.
I mean,
You
he
know,
didn't
I mean,
do anything under the mountain.
not until the very end, but even then, that seems kind of late. You
I
know.
mean, quite literally, the only thing he did under the mountain was kill Amarantha. And it wasn't even like a big sword fight to the end. It was more like Amarantha was distracted. He killed her. End of story. That was it. Everything that was done under the mountain was both Feyre and Rhysand.
Hmm.
Mainly Feyre.
Yeah. Raysan was more of like a massive supporter or massive like a support unit for Feyre. 'Cause it
Yeah,
was
because
all
she
on
didn't have
Feyre.
support anywhere else, so it had to
Mhm.
come from Amarantha's war.
Yeah, a little bit of help from Lucian. He did. He tried his best. He did what he could.
Now, on a side note, have you guys seen that meme? where it's like the dog with like the really weird like he like his
Long nose
lip.
dog.
What?
Long nose dog.
No, 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 no. No, no, no. So it's like this brown dog. His lip gets stuck on his teefies,
Uh
and
huh.
it says Resand and Feyre, or no, it says Resand and Lucian when Feyre is under the mountain, and it's like the sound. It's a sound in the beginning, in the beginning, like when she's
Oh my
trying to
god.
read the riddle.
Yeah. Oh my god. Dear Lord. Oh.
Oh my
I just
god.
cringed. I just cringed at that. Oh my god. That's the accuracy in that is what baffles me. The
If I
fact that
can
I can
find
imagine in
it,
my head just makes it so much worse.
no, absolutely.
Um,
And if I can find it, I'll like totally post it here so people can see it.
that would be fabuloso. That would be very fabuloso.
But then,
Mind
moving
culture.
forward on like the Tamlin is a horrible person. At this
Mm.
point, now don't come for me. This is a you thing because I cannot pronounce this word to save my life. I don't know why this word will not come out of my mouth hole, but it won't. So at this point in the book, we are now at the part where Tamlin is basically on his throne and other emissaries and people from the village and people from the spring court come in and give offerings.
The tithe?
Thank you. Tithe? Is that how you
Tithe, yeah.
pronounce it?
Yeah. Tithing.
Tithe?
Tithe. Yeah.
Oh, it does not
Yeah.
look like that in the book. It probably does. I have
Titheh.
dyslexia.
E. Yeah, tithe.
So we're at the tithe. We're gonna just pretend like I didn't say half of that. Um,
I like the way you say it. Say it again.
tithe?
There you go. Yeah.
I have a lisp. Don't judge me.
Continue.
I don't want to anymore. But yeah, we're at the tithe, and it is now like people are bringing in goods to basically. Yeah, it basically says in the book that these the people of the spring court have to pay a certain like either it's food, money, or resources to Tamlin for in payment of Tamlin keeping them safe in the spring court. Which I don't necessarily think that's fair at all. That's basically like you work hard and you give me stuff so I can just sit on my ass because nothing ever goes down here.
Sounds reminds me of a certain country.
Like it just
We all know the joke of a certain audio book creator on the tube. I couldn't help it. I just couldn't help myself.
shout out to the hag. I'm just gonna
Shout out
do
to the
it. Hag, we love you.
Um, You're the best.
If you guys don't know, and I don't want to get her in trouble again, but if you don't know, the hag is literally life, and she does such an amazing job with the books, and I recommend you not going to listen to the videos that she does not have uploaded on YouTube because they got removed. So definitely do not go check out the videos that are no longer on YouTube.
Yeah, definitely don't do that. That's bad. No. Bad.
No.
Slap your hand.
It may or may not be linked below. Maybe. But don't
Maybe not.
don't click on that link because
Don't do that.
They-
That's an
it-
example of what not to do.
the video doesn't exist. Continuing.
I actually slapped my hand. I kind of hit a little too hard.
But yeah, so like I really think that's such a shitty thing because if you even Resand mentioned it, and I don't remember the exact words that he used, but back in the night court, Resand, I think I wrote it down somewhere. I'm gonna
I know what you're talking about. I think it was Risand's father who did the same thing, and Risand was like, "Nah, don't like that. That doesn't seem cool at all. We should be working together."
Well, yeah, and then even
What a thing.
Resand came out and quite literally said, I'll find it in my notes here, and then I'm gonna probably like um refer back to this, but Rhysand basically comes out and says, Tamlin did nothing for the past 50 years. He just sat on his ass. And Feyre didn't say anything to that. Like, he said that to Feyre, and she didn't say anything. She didn't agree, deny, whatever, because obviously she's only known him for about a year now. But with that being said, you have all of these people coming in, bringing in, like, potatoes, fish, all that, to basically thank and pay Tamlin for controlling the grounds and keeping them safe. But there's been really no threat. I mean, I know Amarantha had a curse on them, but was there really a threat to them? Really?
I don't know. I mean, the only thing is that what I wonder if there were threats. The thing is, they went so far away. But actually, you know what? You didn't even realize something. I think the only time maybe there were like one or two threats. And that's only because Lucian came back from being hurt by the Naga. But then again, it doesn't explicitly show that the danger was there at Supreme Court. During Amarantha, when she was trying to do stuff. So I think there was like the one time where a Fae looked like her father and tried to lure her out. I think that might be the one. I think there's like not as much as what Tamlin said, that there's danger in the Supreme Court.
Exactly, and typically when there was danger, it was always mentioned that the danger was at the border, which is why Lucian.
Which leads to another thing. I'm sorry, but it leads to another thing that goes further into the book that makes me hate Tamlin so much, because if you know what happens later on towards the end.
Oh my god, okay, we're getting there. Oh my god, pause.
You see what I'm saying?
Press the brake, my guy.
Are you cooking what I'm smelling?
What? No.
You know what? I know what I said.
Are you picking up what I'm putting down is more like it, but cooking and smelling,
Tomato, potato, same thing.
But then, if you remember, the Wraith walks in, the Water Wraith. She walks in, and, she's absolutely stunning. If you guys have not seen the fan art, I'm going to attempt to put the fan art up here, but I'm pretty sure YouTube will take it down. But the Water Wraith comes in, and she specifically says, like, I am so sorry. My sisters and I are starving. There's not enough fish in the sea for even us to eat. So I don't have your quota. And Tamlin basically says, if you don't have it here, by next week or else, and then threatens her. And at that point, little Miss Fei runs out, and if you remember, she stops the Water Wraith and apologizes for Tamlin's horrible attitude, and then takes her jewelry off and hands it to the Wraith to pay her debts.
Yeah. I think what because they said there was like little to no fish, like, at all. They can't even feed themselves, and they're supposed to either pay back in a few days, right?
Yeah, I think it's a few days, like 3 to 5 days, if I remember.
And if not, I think it's supposed to be double by the next tithe.
Exactly.
Which is kind of hard to do if you can't even pay the standard fee, then. And let's say there is no fish, how can fish make fish if there's no fish to make fish with?
Exactly. And then the Wraiths still have to eat. And there's no telling how many of them. She says, my sisters and I, which I know there's 3 of them for sure, but Wraith and creatures like the Wraith, they call every single, member their family. So there could easily be hundreds of thousands of them just starving when only maybe a quarter of them are able to eat. And then Tamlin is over here expecting them just to snap their fingers and give him what he needs, when Tamlin hasn't done anything to serve and protect them.
Yeah.
But then we go through, and this is when shit goes down. You know, Hamlin absolutely blows his gasket, completely goes crazy, and scolds Feyre, um, claiming that it makes him look weak, which leads to the first time that Feyre finds herself into Lucian's mind.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. This
Yeah,
is the
that was an
very first
accident
time.
too.
Absolutely an accident. She just remembers seeing,
From
Tamlin and
basically his
herself.
perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like literally in a Lucian's point of view, LPOV, Lucian's point of view.
Was that it?
Yes, yes. I had to take a drink too because I was thirsty.
You ended that with such a question mark?
It's because my throat got dry. I was thirsty. Okay, I was thirsty.
But then, at the end of the night, instead of actually sitting down talking about their problems, or Feyre coming forward and being like, hey, I don't appreciate how you spoke to me, and I don't appreciate the fact, because at this point in the book, Feyre has mentioned that she is miserable countless times, that
Mm-hmm.
she is not okay with how he's treating her, and comes forward and shares how she cannot live with his restrictions forever, and suggests that he find someone better suited to marry him. Which,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, I'll finish that statement in just a second. But instead of sitting down, talking about their problems and everything, they decided to do a little hanky panky brown chicken, brown cow and call it a night. But,
Mm-hmm.
like, the next morning, it irritates me because, like, oh, this part should not openly irritate me as much as it does, but to apologize for being an asshole the day before, Hamlin gifts an on the go paint set to Feyre.
Mm-hmm.
And now I know there's gonna be someone that says, oh, well, she loves to paint. No, she doesn't. She
He
loved
used to.
to paint. The thing is,
Mm-hmm.
when she was under the mountain, Amarantha took so much from her. She is not the same person that she used to be. Like, when she
Mm-hmm.
died, she died. She came back to life. She is still Feyre. She is still in her body, but most of her soul is gone. And she says that countless times throughout the second book. And she does not like to paint. She has not painted in months. And for him to go out of his way to gift her a paint set clearly states that he has never once noticed any of her trauma, any of her outcries, any of her um breakdowns, anything. He has noticed none of them.
Mm-hmm.
He just doesn't care.
He does not. He
And
doesn't pay attention. And just
no.
and they never talked. They never made the attempt to talk. And the thing is that going back for the love of paint, she used to love it. But the thing is that especially red is what reminds all the color just reminds her of the trauma that Amarantha did to her. That's all it
And
does, and that's why she's.
yeah.
I think it even stated that she hasn't been able to paint for months. You know,
And
and she kept trying to. She's trying to talk.
she
Tamlin
is.
isn't. They just do some hanky panky and just call it a day.
And they have been,
Like just like you said.
I mean, she has quite literally been trying to talk to him for months. Months. And he just does not want to talk about it. He either leaves the room, gets angry, and starts throwing shit, breaking walls, breaking windows, breaking chairs, or he just flat out ignores her, and it makes her spiral. So that kind of brings me to when she mentions that she could no longer deal with her restrictions. Hamlin goes off, like, in the worst way possible. He
Basically
blasts,
explodes.
literally, it says he blasts his powers throughout the house. He quite literally explodes. he does exactly what I just said. He breaks windows, furniture, and the paint set that he previously gifted her, not even a chapter before.
Mm-hmm.
And not only the terror of all of this, but the sorrow and the anger all combined just explodes from Feyre, and she just wraps herself in a cocoon that's said, it's like, oh, how is it said? It's like cold and fire, or like night and like, oh my god. I hold on, I have it written down somewhere.
I think this was the first time she created a shield for herself as well.
Yes.
When he exploded, yeah, to put up like I think that was the windshield. I
Yeah.
think that other one was like a little later on when things got even worse.
Well, that yeah. Yeah, because this one, yeah, because that one starts here in a minute. So I kind of
Yeah,
jumped the gun a little bit, but um
but the sentiment's still there.
yeah.
You know, Feyre literally, had to shield herself from him.
But then with that shield up and everything, Feyre goes to bed, but wakes up to Tamlin and Rhysand arguing.
Mm-hmm.
And that just like, why is Rhysand there? But um I find it crazy that Rhysand, without sounding arrogant, he points a finger and he blames Tamlin, asking if he's feeding her.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's mentioned in the previous chapters that Feyre is unusually skinny. Like, she's a
Yeah.
bone skinny. So Rhysand asks Tamlin if they have plenty of food, and when Tamlin starts getting irritated, he claims his bargain, and he takes Feyre back to the Night Court. But this time, Feyre goes without even questioning it.
Mm-hmm. I think it even showed too, like right before she was going to go, that she was putting the night court attire because she had like different set of clothing at the night court, and then even when she was putting it on, because I remember I think she mentioned that it was now loose on her again.
Yep. It was way too loose on her, and um it was basically like her wearing a nightgown, like a full on, like, well, nightgown doesn't sound right because we have
Basically,
nightgowns.
basically
You
like
know what
baggy
I
clothing.
mean?
It's
Yeah.
baggy. Yeah, it's baggy clothing.
But um
But yeah, but no. She goes and it's just, and the thing is like you said earlier too as well that Tamlin did, I'd say he kind of put up a little bit more effort, and even told Rise, I think told Ray San that he wanted to give him anything that he wanted. Finally now, like tries to offer something up at this point, and then Ray San is like, nah, I'm good. I got everything I want, and it just takes Fei Fei with him, and I think after that, that's when she put on the clothes, and it's just so sad. I mean, when she's there at the night court, she's fed properly.
oh,
She becomes
absolutely properly.
healthier. She gets healthier. Then as soon as she gets back to spring court, not so much. Becomes basically malnourished at this point. And Fays, they're super strong. They have good bodies and things like that. And to the point to where it's a very noticeable change, because that's also, I think, Ray San got angry as
Yeah.
well,
Well, and
because of
then,
and because of the fact of how Feyre's condition was.
oh,
When she
absolutely, he
looked,
was so mad.
yeah, she looked fine after when she came back from the night court, because her clothes fit her perfectly, and now they're super baggy, and it's because she's obviously not being fed well.
Well, and then at that time too, now this is already where Feyre and Rhysand are in the Night Court. At the same time, Tamlin, Lucian, and Ianthe discuss a possible way to assassinate Rhysand in order to get her out of her bargain.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
Like,
That yeah, good luck with that.
I mean, well, yeah, good luck with that, but Ianthe is just such a snake.
Hmm. That's why I need to find my Amarin and see if Ianthes.
But then, um, in the Night Court, this is where, um, it's kind of putting a slight pause on Tamlin, um,
Hmm.
because then we're gonna go balls to the wall in a minute. This is kind of where Rhysand talks about the war with Feyre. Mentions where we learn that the King of Hybern has planned an attack on Prythian for over the past 100 years, using Amarantha as his quote-unquote experiment. And then Rhysand confirmed he would take out all of Prythian first and then wipe out the mortal land. So we already know that the King of Hybern is already planning on killing quite literally the entire world. And then, Feyre begins to ask questions, and she learns that Rhysand fought in the war on the side of the humans. So, maybe Fei, I don't know. I feel like that's part of the time where she's kind of started loosening up a little bit, because she found out that he is not against her, and he is not the ones that history warned her about.
Made him out to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree, because especially with things with Tamlin getting so bad, and she's starting to see that Rhysand is like you just mentioned, is not what everyone says that they are, or that he
Yeah.
is.
And then that's where we learn too that Rhysand tells Feyre that she needs to be careful because Tamlin is on Hybern's side. Now, let me tell you, the very first time going through this book, I never heard that. I mean, I read it, but did I hear it? No.
Because
So,
he has such close ties to Hybern.
exactly.
Because from being so young, I think it was Tamlin's father who was pro Hybern. I think
Yeah.
Tamlin's father. Yeah, Tamlin's father. Yeah, because that's how he got to know Amarantha, because Amarantha was from Hybern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, even though this is technically a few chapters before what we were already saying, or what we're on right now, and this goes into what we were saying, Rhysand mentions to Feyre that she is unusually strong for Fae and suggests that she may have gotten her powers from the High Lords. And with that being said, she might be helpful in the upcoming war. But then she mentions, obviously, Tamlin won't allow me because blah, 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 blah. And Rhysand reminds her that Tamlin isn't her keeper and believes she shouldn't be okay with being a High Lord's trophy. And this is the quote I was trying to find earlier. He
You got it.
quotes, yes, someone who sat on his ass for nearly 50 years, that sat on his ass when nearly you was shredded apart.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we already know that Rhysand is done with Tamlin at this point.
Mhm.
I mean,
at this point, I think even every reader is at this point.
yeah. Which I understand the Tamlin and Rhysand relationship goes more in depth later on. But
Mhm.
as far as our knowledge goes with just this particular part of the book, he's done with Tamlin.
Mm-hmm. I know I was at this time too. It's like, damn it, Tamlin.
Yeah.
If you just change certain things,
He
it
just
would have done
tried.
so much better for him. But
Yep.
nope. And Ianthe was just kindling to that fire.
Yeah.
Kerosene at this point was kerosene to that fire.
But then, I don't know. At this point, Feyre gets taken back to the Night Court because she wants to try again. She wants to be the perfect person for Tamlin, even though, she's at her wit's end and she can't really do it anymore. So, Rhysand finally takes her back to the Night Court. And this is where Feyre, finally finally confronts Tamlin and says, I'm going to go wherever the hell I want. And you can't stop me because I'm a grown woman.
Mm.
That was the end. That was the end right there because Tamlin ended up, as you know, putting the magical shield around the manor and locking her out. And this is where she wraps herself into a cocoon of fire and ice. And if we remember, the fire melts her engagement ring completely.
Yeah.
So I think that was symbolism already. Um,
Yeah,
I
no, I
mean,
agree.
not just her growth, but just in general. Like that was such strong symbolism. And then this is where we find out that Morgan, um, we've met Morgan. We haven't talked about her yet in this episode, but we've already met Morgan. This is where Morgan just struts on in, just
Go
forget
pick her up.
forget the shield, right? Just struts on in, um, picks her up and takes her out, and then she states, which I thought this was pretty cool. She states that everything was done, and I quote, by the book.
Mm. Yeah, because there's like certain laws or certain rules. A high lord can't just go and take someone's bride to be,
Correct.
things like that.
Because in the off chance Rhysand walked into the spring court and picked Feyre up, that would give Tamlin the right to get his army and go invade the
War.
Night Court.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Just overall, though, like I truly feel like Tamlin used his trauma to manipulate Feyre into believing she would have to spend her new immortal life miserable, afraid, and quite literally alone. She has
And
proved time
inept
and
as well.
no, absolutely. And she has proved time and time again that she is strong enough to hold her own, but he just continuously belittles and pushes her down for his own gain, choosing Ianthe over her. And I don't know, I just think that's foul. I think he never stopped to take all of her trauma in and, like,
They never took it in the first place. They never
no.
talked about it. If he had known that the painting is just nothing but a trigger, he wouldn't be constantly just giving her gifts like that. I mean, sure, Tamlin's intention as an apology, okay, loosely would be good. At this point, he's just using gifts as an apology versus just, trying to make a change. I mean, I think at some point he lowers the guards a little bit, but as soon as he gets angry again, because I think it's after the first time. I know it's going backwards a little bit, but this just goes more on Tamlin. At one point it's like, okay, fine, lowers the guards a little bit, but
Yeah.
then as soon as things get quote unquote bad or just slightly not the way that he wants, he loses control, loses from his anger, and just makes everything worse. And just
Exactly.
suffocates her, which just
And
drives her even more and more away.
right, and I believe truly that he just wanted her to sit silently and behave like a prisoner.
Mm-hmm.
And he always said in the first one, "You are not a prisoner. I am not your captive." But at the beginning of the second book, that's quite literally what they were to one.
That's exactly what happens.
Oh my god, my blood is pumping.
I know. I can feel it. It's just, I keep saying it, but if Tamlin just listened, or at least attempted, or just did some things different, it would have been better for him.
Yeah.
So much better. But then again, we would not have what we have now.
Yeah.
With Rhysand and Feyre.
Well, so now that raises the question I told you. I'm going to ask this question every single episode. That raises
Mm-hmm.
the question, does Tamlin deserve a redemption arc?
Oh man, it's tough because of the things that he did, and okay, as of right now, I'm gonna say it's lofty. And the reason why I'm saying lofty now, because when things get further on into the book, that's where my answer kind of solidifies, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, that
Like,
absolutely.
for him, I think the thing is that Tamlin, it's hard to say redemption for him because he's gone off his rocker. He's going insane,
He is.
and it's just there's not exactly a redemption sort of thing. And even if he did, the way how he acts and the way how he does things, redemption or not, he's just not going to take it. because
Well, and
he could very much redeem himself,
exactly. But I don't
whether
think
it
he
not be
necessarily
with
wants to
Feyre,
redeem himself.
but exactly. The thing is, it's not just towards redemption towards Feyre, but towards himself. Because again, he's a High Lord. He got more than just Feyre to look after.
Yeah.
What about everyone else?
But I
You know?
mean, that kind of goes off of what I just said too. I don't think he necessarily wants to change because I feel like, when you're centuries and whatever years old, like Hamlin is old. He is so far stuck in his ways. He is not one of the characters that grows and develops throughout time. He's kind of the character that just sits in his own, you know,
You stay stagnant.
yeah, he's in his own space. He'll do what he wants. If you basically tell him no, he explodes. If
Mm-hmm.
you tell him something that he doesn't want to hear, he explodes. If
Mm-hmm.
he explodes, then he gets mad and he explodes. Like,
Yeah, and then he'll give you a terribly themed gift that just makes things worse.
and he never actually apologizes. He just basically whips it out and says, "Here you go," and thinks that that's an apology. And I think,
He says sorry with his meat. That's about it.
oh my god,
Am I wrong?
the tiny Vienna sausage.
Oof. Big oof.
But like,
It's because he lacks the wingspan, if you know what I'm saying.
oh,
If those who get it,
wink,
get it.
wink. But
Wink,
like,
wink, wink, wonk.
I guess on my end, again, it changes throughout. Like, the answer will differ later on in series, but if you truly take everything that he has done
Up to this point.
up to this point, he was quite literally the golden child. He was amazing in the first book, and then he decided to take his trauma, and instead of being healthy with it and trying to fix it,
Mm-hmm.
he ended up,
Letting it ruined it.
I mean, quite
Ruined
literally
everything.
letting it ruin everything. And he took a overly, like, even though she had gone without a lot of food because, she was poor, she was constantly hunting, all that, for what she could be, she was healthy. She was.
Mm-hmm.
She was pretty healthy. And now she is so horribly underweight. She is so miserable. She has no idea. I think even, I know we'll talk about it in the third episode of the second book, but up until this point, she hasn't even smiled once at all.
Mm.
Because if you remember, and like I said, we'll discuss it later, in
Yeah.
Starfall, she finally smiles once. And this is the very first time in the entire book that she has ever smiled, to the point where
Oh.
Rhysand stops and stares at her and says, "Wait, do that again."
Yeah, because I think Feyre only just smiled just so just to like be like to get it over with. But
Pretty
I think at
much.
that point that was a genuine like motes of happiness, like an
Yeah.
ounce of happiness. Oh
So
man, oh wow, I didn't even realize that
you
either.
didn't even think about that, right?
Yeah, I didn't think about it. Not this far at least. Looking back at it now. Oh damn. Yeah, no, yeah.
So I guess my takeaway from my question thus far,
Mm-hmm.
I I say no. Hamlin doesn't deserve it. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, I know it'll change.
Yeah.
And my answer at the end of this entire ACOTAR series might still be no. So me saying it'll change does not mean, oh yeah, he does. Like, no.
Yeah.
But the answer per episode is going to change, but then we'll have an overall answer at the end. For this specific time, no, he does not. He
He does not.
deserves way less than what he's actually getting right now.
What Homeboy deserves is therapy and needs a lot of it.
Okay, so I have another theory. But the only reason why I think this theory is okay to be spoken about now is because once Feyre decides that she no longer. I mean, she doesn't really have a choice because, like I said, Morgan takes her to the Night Court. Yeah, this is
Oh
where
yeah, after the explosion, right? Or when she
correct.
yeah. I think for those who don't know, I don't think we talked about the reason. Well, part of the reason why we did is because Tamlin again is like you know making her prisoner,
Yeah,
but I also, and this goes more against Tamlin, which probably another reason why you say he doesn't deserve redemption is because Tamlin put up a barrier, actually locked her up.
no, like legitimately, like locked her. Like she could not leave. She could only
Mm-hmm.
walk the manor freely, but she could not leave to go
She
outside. She
can't
could
step
not go to the
outside the
garden. She could not go anywhere.
Yeah.
But so
Continue.
Morgan, we know, takes her to the Night Court. For the sake of this, I'm going to skip ahead. This is
Mm-hmm.
where Rhysand finally, you know, tells her like, "Hey, um, I need you to swear on your life, and you're an immortal now, so I need you to swear on your life that until your last breath, you never mention this ever again." And Feyre agrees. So Rhysand takes her to Valeris.
Mm-hmm.
So once we're okay, so this is where my theory comes in. It is follow me here. It's a little unorthodox.
Okay, I'm listening. Interested?
So we know that the Spring Court is known for their jewels. We also know that Valeris is known for their spices, which Rhysand even took her around and showed her the different spice shops, the different, I mean, everything shops. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
Now, when in the first book, I think it was at the end of the first book or something, when Feyre recalls their um richness, she would go into her father's office, study, whatever, and she would
Mhm.
recall the amount of jewels that he always had in his office.
Yeah.
And it was also known, we'll get into this. This isn't until the next part, but we find out that Papa Archeron is gone on a ship because he's working with spices, yeah?
I think so, yeah.
So, my main theory has to do with Papa Archeron. What if
Okay. Interesting.
So this kind of goes into your theory about the mother in the first book. What if Papa Archeron has direct lines with Valeris and with the Spring Court? Because think about it. He
Ooh.
he's been trading spices and jewels for money and all that whatever. He gives I don't know what he gives yet. That's the part that I'm still kind of iffy about. But he
Yeah.
gives the Spring Court whatever it needs in order to get jewels in return, which he comes back to the mainland, sells the jewels, gets his fortune. He then goes, gets his spices from Valeris, and thus fortune. But then it is mentioned in the second book, the book that we're on now, that when Amarantha took over and did this, all ports to any of the courts were completely shut off.
Mm.
Therefore, Papa Archeron, if this theory is valid, he had no way of getting into either the Spring Court port or even the Valeris port. Therefore, he had no money or no trades coming in or out, and that's how they lost their fortune. Which is why he had to then resort to making the little figurine wooden guys, which is thus how
Hmm.
he lost his leg. Or not lost his leg, but hurt his leg.
Well, the use of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because then it said like there was like a strange accident or like something that happened to where all of his investments was gone.
Yeah. Because I truly
Mm.
believe he's trading with both courts, and it mentions, or rather, her sisters mentions that he's away trading spices, which is said, like I said, when Amarantha happened, all trades halted and led to the Archerons losing their main source of the Valaris spices, making them go in debt.
Yeah. Hmm. I can see what you're going with that.
But then,
And I don't think it's that far off. I think that's pretty possible.
also think about it. If it's not Papa Archeron now, let's say it's not Papa Archeron, ancestors. But then, pause. I know we can't talk about it,
Oh.
but in the third book, when at the end, when Papa Archeron arrives, he opened them, or he welcomed them with open arms. He knew they were Fae. He was okay with them being Fae. He never once discarded them as his daughters or never said anything ill towards them or about them. He was okay with the fact that they were Fae. So then let's go back to this theory. He may already be in cahoots with Prithian.
Huh. I was gonna say that maybe he did it unknowingly, but you have a point. That makes sense. That'd be something to think about.
That right?
Especially when I read, yeah, especially when I read when I start reading the audiobook on the third book. I'm definitely gonna be looking out for that, for sure.
And I mean, again, I will only make one more point about it because we can't go into it, but or we learn later on that Papa Archeron and Vesa are close. She knows everything about.
That's one of the
queens.
Yeah, the queens. Yeah, yeah.
She knows everything about Prithian.
So yeah, all the human queens know, but Vesa, I believe, knows the most.
Exactly. So I'm gonna leave you with this question, and I know we can't discuss it. Plus, I know you're gonna have to think about it. But how is it that he is close with one of the mortal queens that knows everything about Prithian, and then how is it that magically, when all the ports close, he loses his wealth?
That's a lot of coinky dinks.
Right?
Huh. Well, thanks a lot. I'm not sleeping tonight.
I know I broke you.
Now.
Right? I can always tell I break you when all you have is, huh.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about it now, and I'm like...
Because if you really truly think about it, yeah, like, if you think about it, we don't really know, I mean, hardly anything.
Well, about
Papa Archeron.
Yeah, I mean, in general, we don't know much about the Archeron family besides, the daughters.
Exactly, because
even less on the mother.
Exactly. So if you take everything that we know about Papa Archeron, it's probably not even a full page.
It's not, and oh my god, it even bleeds into my theory about Mama Archeron.
About Mama
possibly being, of maybe not fully human, of like other type of being.
Yeah.
That could be human. Like at this point we do meet Amarin,
yes,
who looks kind of Fae-like, but she is from another world. It is stated that, and I might be jumping a little further up ahead. Actually, it is jumping a little bit further up ahead, but it is stated that she is not of this world, and it makes a good bet again about Mama Archeron and the fact that Papa Archeron is perfectly okay with this because maybe he's already been pre-exposed to it in the first place because of Mama Archeron.
Exactly.
And oh my god, it's like I'm over here like with the billboard, or not the billboard, the poster board with all the little tags with the yarn of different colors going to each and every one of them. My hair is disheveled and everything. That whole meme, that's me right now. Because
I just broke you.
Yeah, because then it makes more sense about the girls, because this might be also going a little bit further ahead too on the second book. It definitely is further ahead on the second book, which we can come back to this again, because I really want to talk about it. But it also leads into the theory that I said that the girls have maybe very different type of bloodlines, otherworldly bloodlines.
Yeah.
More because Rhysand and Feyre already had a connection from before, and this goes back to the whole thing of the not only just between them, but the whole theme about Raysan and the Night Court and Valoris being the city of dreams, the court of dreams.
Yes. I actually had a point about
And
that too.
yeah, and they had dreams about it. They had stuff about starlight, and I think even in the beginning, I think Feyre did open up to Raysan. Again, it might be a little bit further. It's hard to stop when you're thinking about it
Right?
already.
No, yeah. But
But
then,
like,
oh my
it
god.
talks about the stars.
Yes. Okay.
Oh my god, I'm not sleeping tonight. It's all thanks to you,
Well,
but in a good way. In a good way. In a
yeah,
good
yeah,
way.
yeah. So I know exactly what point you're trying to make right now, and I know listeners have they know what you're trying to say. So I think that might be in another part. Oh, I want
It
to
has
talk
to be
about it,
another
man.
part. I
So
know it's so hard. I'm sorry. I couldn't stop. I know we're supposed to be sticking to one, but I just couldn't stop. I'm sorry.
no, 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 no. And I did mention it in the last episode too. I have a theory that I can't
Mhm.
say, but I think I can say. So, I guess spoiler for everyone. It looks like because these like it's like what we said at the beginning. These books, like the second and the third books, are so overly complex that one episode does not do it justice. So we are
God.
splitting up the second and the third book into 3 episodes.
Mhm.
Um,
At least 3 episodes. It
at
kind of
least, yeah,
depends on what all goes on. Because sometimes
yeah,
like we've been discovering a lot more stuff during our second go around. So who
exactly,
knows? It could be more, but yeah, three looks like about what we have. But
right.
man,
But
ah,
I have a theory. It kind of goes in with a theory that I mentioned last episode. But this theory, I don't think I can say it. Well, I know for sure I can't say it until either next episode or the episode after that. So either way, it is for sure before this second book is finished, but I can't say it until then. So we're
okay.
still putting a pin in that, but I know I'm going to get hate for it. I know that
Uh-oh.
it's going to be very controversial. I have receipts, and I think if
Oh, you're ready
you
to fight. You're ready to fight.
I am, because if you actually go in with an open mind, like if not you in particular, but just like the listener and everything, if you come
Mm,
in my theory with an open mind, it makes sense. It
okay.
does. But if you go in with a closed mind, like, no, I already know, no, it's not, then obviously we're going to have issues, but I need an open mind.
Yeah, like certain TikTokers.
Oh, oh, I'm already still seeing them. It takes everything in me not to be a keyboard warrior.
I know. Let's not be keyboard warriors. Let's be the support group. Let's be the Valorous to the court of against the court of nightmare folks.
Burn them
You see what
all.
I did there? You see what I did there?
Burn them all.
Burn them all.
Okay.
Anyways, continue. I'm sorry. Good.
But yeah, so now going back before my theory, um, Farah kind of gets a little salty in a way. I want to say salty because she starts questioning Rhysand on why he didn't open up Valeris to everyone when Amarantha happened, like,
Oh
refugees and
my
everything.
gosh. Yep, she did get salty.
She did.
She definitely did.
And she makes a comment on how it would have been better if, like, Feyre died. Like, Feyre herself made a comment that saying, it would just be better if I wasn't here. Like, somewhere along the lines of that. And
Yeah.
obviously, Daddy Rai Rai did not like that. And he reaches out to comfort her, yeah? And when he touched her arm, she broke through his shields and she was able to see herself through his eyes, and she saw what she looked like from his perspective. She was starved and completely depressed.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that.
And
Oh
now
man.
we also learned too, no one has ever been able to break through Rhysand's shield before.
I think that's when he also mentioned about what they were called, the
Exactly.
Demonti. Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. Exactly.
I'm
And
sorry, that
we
word is just cool. Side note, that word is just cool to say. Demonti. Sounds like a really cool title.
it
I'm sorry.
is. And
Continue.
that's
I'm
where
sorry.
we that's where Feyre, obviously she already knew, but this is where it's confirmed that this power does in fact come from Rhysand.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we already got like shown that she's basically having, an like a different flavor of each of the High Lord's flavor of power.
yes,
You know, you can make the wind shield. She can. I think at some point where she was angry too, or like with the fire. She melted her engagement ring. And I think going a little bit back, she did also like burn like she did like finger burns like on the table.
she did.
And I think we
Yes, she
saw her.
also burned
Yeah,
her bed.
that's
But
right. Oh, and like rended it with claws too, didn't they?
yeah,
Didn't they?
so
Yeah.
she ended up starting to get claws on her. Like claws were coming out. She discovered that was Tamlin. And
Yeah.
then the at the very beginning of this episode, we mentioned how when she got sick, Rhysand went into the bathroom and helped her. She burned her bed, finding out that that was from the Autumn Court.
Yeah.
Which I do have a theory about that, but unfortunately, you
Please
have to
do.
wait until book 3 for that.
You hear that, guys? If you
And
want to
I
hear
am
it,
going
you're gonna
to
have to, you
break
have to,
all
you
of
have
your
to
minds.
linen. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait.
I'm gonna break your
Oh man.
mind. I'm pretty sure that's the day we stop being friends.
Mm, that's the price we have to pay. The price we gotta pay.
But yeah, so at this point, we find out that Ceridwen and Nuala are helping Feyre, in the house.
Mm,
We This is where some of the inner circle comes by. Of course, we already know Morgan. He mentioned how we already met Amryn. Even Rhysand told Farah that he doesn't even test Amryn. So he's like, be on your best behavior.
mm.
Um,
Emran's scary and hot.
yes.
And scary and hot. And scary and powerful and hot.
But then they end up having a dinner where they talk about everything and whatnot. So Rhysand mentions how he can't winnow her into the House of Wind, so he has to fly her up there. And of course she argues a little bit, but eventually agrees. And this is kind of where we get a little bit of a backstory on Rhysand's mom. That
Mm.
um he said, which it kind of doesn't make sense to me, actually, thinking about it, and I may be misinterpreting this wrong, but in this specific chapter, he mentions how he used to sneak out of the House of Wind and fly around the house, and his mom would go out there and fly with him, correct?
Yeah.
So, also in
I
weird,
think
I
that's
don't,
when he was a kid, when he was a
correct,
child. Yeah, he had to go, like sneak out just to go fly.
correct. However, in like between like chapter 15 and like chapter 18ish, it starts going into the Bat Boys and their background, talking about how Azriel and Cassian are both bastards, and talking about how Cassian immediately went to the camp to start training after his mom died and all that. And it
Yeah.
goes into the history of Rhysand trying to get the tradition of cutting women's wings off, right?
Oh no, clipping them. They keep the wings. They would just clip them to where they can't fly. So
Correct.
basically, yeah, the Illyrian traditions. Illyrian traditions.
Correct. But then
Yeah.
maybe I read it wrong, but I could have sworn in that chapter as well. This is like a chapter later than like when they were flying and he was talking about his mom. I
Mm-hmm.
could have sworn in that chapter too, it even said that Rhysand's mother's wings got clipped a few years later. So
Mm.
was that before or after? Because I
No,
think
I think that had to be after because. Oh wait, no. I think I know it. I think I know what it is.
it was
I did.
before.
Oh, no, it had to
Because
be after. I think because I think he was mentioning I think it was his mom was trying to convince his father because obviously Raisin's daddy was the High Lord
Yeah.
of the Night Court, and his mom obviously was an Illyrian, and she could fly. She had the wings. I think her mom was trying to stop that tradition of clipping the wings of females, but of course he didn't want to.
Well,
Um,
because I'm gonna try and find it in the book. Well,
I think that's
because
around 16. I think.
because
Uh,
I
yeah, but
think
because I think she was given like allowed to keep it because I think Ray San showed like so much promise. I think, and I think that's why she was able to keep her ability to fly or something like that. I think that's what it was. I know it's because of something like because of Ray Sand that she was able to keep her wings. Like there's a reason,
right.
but she was trying to like stop the tradition of clipping female wings from happening. I think that's probably where maybe it was trying to. I think that's where maybe it got a little confusing at first, because I thought so too at the very beginning. I thought she couldn't
Yeah.
fly after a while. Like I know that they did fly when Ray Sand was young, but I don't think it ever mentioned again that she flew. And there was the whole clipping thing. So I don't know if it was just for a limited time where they
Okay.
didn't do
Okay.
it
Okay.
right away,
I found it.
or
Yes,
you found it. Okay.
I did. So, um, it says that they perform the incision when the females come of age, so they can't fly. But his mother left flying, so to managed to get to 18 before she was taken to be clipped.
Oh, she would try. Wasn't I
So,
trying to run away? Oh wait,
okay,
no. I think it's because they became mates, and that's why they Raysan's father and her since she became
oh
of
my
age
god, if
because
I
that's
would
like
keep reading, oh my god, you are so correct.
was that correct because they
You are
became mates, right?
correct. Yes.
Ah, I got it.
So,
Hey, I did my homework, guys.
yeah, so she tried to flee and she was caught just before she could,
Get clipped.
before her wings could be clipped, and her now husband, Risan's father, arrived at the
Whoa.
um, Risan's father arrives at the clamp. Fuck me.
Ray San's father went to Sports Clips, the Illyrian Sports Clips salon to keep her from being clipped because it was the mating bond. It was the mating bond. So he went all male what you call it, male instinct, and just like killed them there all there, right? Because I remember
Yes,
him doing a lot of
correct.
murder. So he killed them until they were murdered, and then took her to the Night Court to be married because of the whole mating thing.
Correct. Okay,
And that's how
you
she
are
kept
right.
her wings. And that's how she kept her wings.
The more you know. Dun 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 dun.
The more you know. Insert rainbow here, and the star from like the 90s.
Oh my god. I am so glad we could find that because
Yes.
for some reason, my smooth brain kicked in. I had no lumps or ridges on my brain and it just took full effect.
Like it happened. Okay, it
It
happened.
happened.
Yes.
But yeah.
um,
Um,
to be fair, this also is very early in the book too, as
it
well. It's like
is.
not even like the first, like it's within the first 20 chapters.
Yeah.
So it is, yeah. And this is a very small part that was mentioned too.
Yeah, no, it's something that you can easily miss, like easily.
Hmm.
But this is also where I mentioned before, like Feyre mentions her love for Tamlin and mentions how she was just lonely, falling in love with the first person that showed her any bit of kindness. But then this part was very interesting and I agreed to it. But she says it worked for who she was, or like who I was before, but not who I am now. And that
Mm.
just kind of connects the dots of what we were saying earlier. Like, Feyre did in fact die. Whether she's back now, Feyre died. And so the person she
It's
was
not the same.
before, exactly, she was okay with being the little pet, being the little prize, if you will, just because, like, her family was safe. She had food. She had, like I said in the last video, sanctuary. And she was okay with living her life out like this, but then now seeing that she has so much else going for her, but then also seeing that her trauma is quite literally being smushed
Mm.
into the ground, I know you did not just yawn.
No, no, no. I went ooh because you just made me
Okay.
realize something. I went ooh. Okay, I didn't go. Oh. I went ooh. Okay, back me up, guys.
Okay,
Calm down.
but wait,
Back me up.
wait, you realized something?
Yes. No, no, no. But I no, no. But continue because this is just going to enforce everything that you just said.
Well, that
So
was
go ahead.
basically it actually. Like I was kind of just yeah. No, wait.
Yeah, but this is what I remembered. So again, going like how she died, right? She died a human
Mhm.
who was again, who was poor, who she had to do everything to basically feed her entire family. She had to do everything. She was the caretaker for literally three children
I mean,
and
quite literally.
and herself. And the thing is that back then she just wanted security. She wanted safety because she also did make I wouldn't say bargain. I'm used to saying bargain now, but her mom on her deathbed, when she died from like typhus or
Yes.
whatever, told her to take care of the family.
Mhm.
So that was her purpose. What better way in that time to take care of a family is to have, basically have someone to take care of them. She didn't
Exactly.
want that. She didn't want to do that. She wanted to, be like everyone else. She wanted to worry about boys and blah 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 and whatnot and being fed. She wanted that protector, and Tamlin was
That
the guy.
protector.
He was the
Wow.
guy. He is the
I
guy.
never put two and two together on that. No, that I agree to that.
Yeah.
Like
But but
wholeheartedly.
now she's Fae, right? She went through the whole trials under the mountain as a human, and now she's Fae, Feyre
Mhm.
Fae, and she has all these abilities. She can do something. She has like all this power. So not only could she like take care of her family, probably even more so, you know, but at the same time, her purpose was also gone.
Well, I mean,
She did her
also
purpose. Like Tamla fulfilled the purpose of her family being taken care of, because that's when
exactly.
she was a lot happier. And then the whole thing under the mountain, she went to go save Tamlin, but he wasn't exactly a protector, which she needed. She became that herself, and then when she died and came back, she died. That human part of her was gone, and she has a mortal soul in an immortal body.
No, absolutely.
I think that was like worded exactly. And like now that she's different, you know, she like no one protected her. She wants to be able to protect. She wants to be able to do that because she had to do again everything herself. When it came down to it, she had to do everything herself. But Lucian helped out when he could. Raysan is the one who helped out the most.
Mhm. And
Later on we learned more and more, especially further on this book of how things go out. He spills the beans eventually, which we'll obviously talk about in the next episode or two.
well, and
But
we'll
but
go
yeah.
over it in the next episode as well, but everything that you're saying is actually backed up by facts too in the book
Oh yeah.
because um she made an oath, like you said, to her mom to take care of the family and to watch over them. So what better way, like you said, like Tamlin fully took care of her family, gave them, wealth beyond belief, like we already mentioned, like enough for
Mhm.
like
Like one little
10
ruby or one
estates.
uncut ruby
Yeah.
was like 10 estates. Yeah. Oh yeah, they were
Yeah.
so well off.
So, what better way of living out her mom's last wish than to constantly live eternity with Tamlin?
Mhm.
Because, again, we'll discuss this in the next episode, but we find out now, Feyre doesn't want to be in the Spring Court anymore, and that shows because obviously Tamlin makes a decision later on in the book that quite literally puts her sisters in danger. And
Oh, oh my God. Ugh.
exactly. So it was not only for her mom, but I think for her sake as well, because even though Feyre was absolutely tired of her sisters, always loved Elaine. Which I do want to discuss Elaine in the third book because I want to put some good juju on my girl because a lot of people are being very disgusting about her right now online, and I do not
Oh,
appreciate
really?
it. They
Oof.
are. So, it was more so about her because, even though her sisters never really did anything, and even though Nesta was very nasty to her, Feyre has always been somewhat mistreated, verbally abused, all that. Even
Mm-hmm.
though Nesta was always horrible to her, she absolutely loves Nesta. That goes without a doubt. She loves Nesta
Yeah.
with everything. So even staying with Tamlin to the end and making sure that that decision keeps her family safe, that was who she was.
That was her fulfilling her purpose.
Exactly. But then
And
when she died,
with
mm-hmm,
her purpose fulfilled, she can now live the life she wanted. She doesn't have to be the hunter. She could be like be her, do her.
exactly. But then as
Yeah,
she mentioned, that's who I was before, that's not who I am now.
exactly. Yep.
But then, you know, derailing a little bit just because I want to make this known. There was a Morgan. There was a part of Morgan in this book, like in the beginning part that we're talking about, that I absolutely loved. So we find
Mm-hmm.
out that the Night Court is split up. Um,
To two different, well, to two halves.
Correct. So we
Yep.
find out that the Night Court is split up. It's basically the Hewn City, which is the Court of Nightmares, as they say it, and Valeris, which is the Court of Dreams.
Dream Starlight.
Morgan, mm-hmm, Morgan mentions how she was a dreamer born in the nightmare, and I love
Oh
that.
yeah,
And
that was pretty. I love that.
that was, and she managed to escape. But just the way that was said, that was so poetic and beautiful. I loved that so much.
Same. That's what I like about this book too. They had like a really good what do you call it? I was never good at English class. I can't remember what you call it, but I guess symbolism in a way,
Yeah.
or like
Mm-hmm.
way with words. I can't think
Yeah.
of metaphors. Is it metaphors?
Metaphors, yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, sounds about right. English majors.
Symbolism kind of like hit it on the head.
Don't butcher me. Don't butcher me. Okay.
But then at the same time, this is also where we learn that they think that the Ator took off with Jurian's eye, in the possibility that the King of Highburn could resurrect him if he had his eye.
Yeah, that's when the narrative gets a lot crazier.
Oh yeah, and that's
Things
kind
really
of.
pick up.
But yeah, so there's one more point that I want to make. Kind of, it's not a theory, but it is a point. But before we get there, this is kind of, we're at the very end now because this is getting to the point where we're gonna end this episode and go into the next episode. But
Mhm.
before we get there, Amryn does mention there is a way to get any and all information, and that is from a character that we will discuss, named the Bone Carver. He
Ooh,
he
Bone
does
Daddy.
believe. Oh, I love him so much.
Mhm.
Amryn truly believes that the Bone Carver will only talk to Feyre, seeing how Feyre is an immortal with a human soul. So I
As
think that's pretty
something,
cool.
I think she mentioned as something new because the
Yep.
Bone Carver is old
Old.
and
Mm-hmm.
not of this world either. I think that was mentioned too.
Yep.
Not of this world, just like her.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I love the way they describe the Bone Carver. I like the way that they describe Amryn too, don't get me wrong, but
Mhm.
the Bone Carver was one of my favorite characters. My absolute favorite character though, um obviously is a Suriel, and we will get to my baby eventually. But truly one of my favorite characters is Briaxis. I
Reaxes.
Yes. Because
Really?
yes, the way they describe him and the okay, we'll get there.
Ah, you're talking about like description wise. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll get
Ah,
there.
I see.
We are like several episodes ahead now, but we'll get there. But
That's a whole book ahead, girl.
yeah. So the way they describe and talk about the Bone Carver is one of my absolute favorite things because the Bone Carver as a whole is such a delightful character. And now that sounds weird, seeing how he's like one of the Lord of Deaths and whatnot, and
Mhm.
but he is such a delightful character. And I know that sounds so strange to say, but I really loved him.
No, I get it. And for those listening, if you didn't realize, spoilers, by the way.
Oh yeah, I thought you were gonna.
No, no, I'm just being dumb.
Okay, so my point that I wanted to make, this
Yes.
kind of goes back to when we talked about Pharaoh being salty. Um,
Mhm.
Also, if you guys haven't, we mentioned it in the last episode. I am a very note oriented person. When
I am not.
Aqua, yeah, he is more of an in the moment type person. So, this episode alone, we're 2 hours into it. I have like 7 pages front and back that we're going off of. So, I'm a very note oriented person. So, I do jump around, but I go chapter by chapter and write my notes. So, thank you for bearing with me. It is very bad, but ADD at
No,
its
that's
finest.
pretty good. I think it's pretty good. Hey, we all know mine. I can easily go off tangent very quickly.
Oh, of
Like,
course.
I can quickly go back to the whole fact about the thing about the tooth fairy and
Oh
calcium.
God. You know, I actually did watch it back. I am surprised you actually talked about a tooth fairy.
I told you I did.
Because obviously, like, these videos are unedited. We don't edit anything. I air quote edit them because if you watch the first episode, I like to put pictures in so that you can see what we're talking about. But I
Yeah.
got to that part and I'm like, this motherfucker.
I
But
told you.
huh,
It's important. Look, we have to know. That people want to know about the tooth fairy.
right. Oh my God. All
Do they
right.
eat
My last
calcium?
point. Oh my God. So this goes back to when we mentioned that Pharaoh was being salty, wondering why Rhysand never opened up Valeris for refugees.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you caught him talking about it, but when I came across this in the book again, I audibly went, "Oh," like it was one of those moments. So Rhysand mentions that Amarantha, obviously we know, she took the powers of all 7 High Lords. She
Right.
ended up saving, not necessarily saving, that's not the right word, but she took a little less from Rhysand.
Mm-hmm.
So he managed to alter every citizen of the Night Court's mind and kind of web them together as one and actively controlled their minds daily so that they would forget all about Valeris and all about his inner circle. He only had enough power remaining afterwards to put a shield over one city, and he chose Valeris. Anyone who came close to Valeris would just see a barren rock and suddenly change their mind on wanting to explore it.
Ah, that's correct. That's right. I forgot about that.
It's something that is so quick. It's like a hello goodbye. Like you hear it, but
And that's it.
that's it. So it shows, like, we already know that Rhysand is the most powerful High Lord in Prithian, but that just shows how powerful, because he not only put a shield around Valeris and kept it up for 50 years, but he day in and day out literally changed every single citizen of the Night Court's mind to make them forget all about it.
Erased it.
All of it.
Oh my god, that's true. Jesus. No wonder, no wonder Amarantha was so terrified of him.
Like, for real.
Jeez.
But yeah, that is, I guess, for everyone following along. At the point in the book, we are now on chapter 18. This
Mm-hmm.
is where we are stopping the first episode, so I do apologize if you guys are so immersed
Hey,
into
look,
this
if
podcast.
yeah, if you want more, tune in next episode.
Yeah. But next episode, we're for sure gonna get most of the second part and then the ending. Basically, what we're gonna try for the next 2 books, or well, for this book and the next book, is beginning, middle, end. We're gonna have an episode for each of them because there's just so much. Like, we are
There's a
only
lot of
on, like,
details.
literally, we're only on chapter 18 and we're 2 hours into it. but I don't know. Do you have any final thoughts?
Hmm. I have one final thoughts.
Okay. I'm going to walk away for 2 seconds. I am listening, but I am here.
Okay.
Give me a second.
Okay, I have two final thoughts, and they're kind of selfish. My first final thought is that I wholeheartedly believe that Ianthe deserves to sit on a cactus. Second one, my second final thought is that Amarantha is best girl besides Pharaoh. Most definitely. And they're more for just jokes, but no, I mean it's just kind of like going back to the whole thing with Tamlin deserving redemption, and no, I'm kind of it's really hard to say that he does. It's just homeboy just
Just
made
say
so many
Amarantha.
poor choices, so many horrible choices, and I just feel so bad for Lucian.
You just say
But
Amarantha?
did I just say Amarantha?
You said Amarantha's best girl?
No, Amarin.
I think you said Amarantha.
Did I say Amarantha? Well,
I think so. I'm so
well,
confused.
I'm confused too. I
Okay,
forgot what my thought
sorry.
was.
Sorry,
Okay,
I like
okay.
my ADD like
Just in
zoned out for a
case.
second, and I was like, I'm sure he didn't just say that.
Oh my god, if I did, then I will die. So to make sure, since it's gonna be out there, correction if need be, Amarin is best girl. Only best girl. Most best girl. And Ianthe deserves to sit on a cactus. And yeah,
That's probably gonna end up on TikTok.
that's perfectly fine. Yeah. Especially the Ianthe deserves to sit on a cactus part. Oh my gosh. But no, but like it's going back again with the whole Tamlin deserving redemption. It's hard to say. I part of me wants to kind of say yes because I feel like if he just did things differently, he'd be so much better. But at the same time, everything he did is just, bro, come on, man, you're killing me, Smalls.
I mean, I agree with
No.
that. I mean, with this specific book, like this specific first, like I guess it's like what 8 chapters that he's in. I truly
Yep.
don't think he deserves the redemption, but I know it does change. It does lighten up all that good stuff. But as of right now, it's a hard pass.
Yeah. For me, it's hard. It's hard. I want to, but it's just everything he did. It's just, come on, bro, really. And I just feel so bad for Lucian. He's so torn. You know, he's
I love
basically
Lucian.
his best friend, his best bro, the guy who helped him for so much. You know, and he wants to be friends with Feyre. He wants to help Feyre at the same time, and he tries, but it's just heartbreaking. When I look at Lucian, it's a bit heartbreaking for him.
I mean,
know?
let's be completely honest. You go okay. Let's go all the way back to the first. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you get taken to a spring court. Absolutely gorgeous. We know it's gorgeous. It's amazing. Knowing my allergies, I would have been dead the first day. It's fine.
Oh yeah, same here. The moment they cut grass, I'm dead.
Just all the flowers outside, I would be like rip. I'd be passed out on the floor. They think I'm just sleeping. I'm done.
Yeah,
But
nah, I'm dead. I've been unalived. I've been
like
unalived.
it was, yeah, I couldn't do it. But when you have Lucian and Tamlin, how do you choose Tamlin? I mean, I
Make this High
know,
Lord. Make
I
this High Lord.
understand. Well, I mean, she didn't find out he was High Lord until halfway through the book.
I know. Don't get me wrong though. That rusted eye kind of doing it for me with Lucian. That's not what you meant, wasn't it? Well, that's staying on the internet.
Well, yeah, that's all I have.
Yeah. Ooh, I do have one last thing before we go. Since you
No,
mentioned the spring
and
court.
no, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
Just
I've been
cuts black.
vetoed. No. I've been slapped over Discord. How dare? How dare you?
Oh no, what's your last point?
The last point is more like a question for the commenters, for those who.
Oh my
for
god,
those
I
who
should
comment.
actually edit that. Actually, I have one final point. No, cuts to black. Then comes
That would
back
be
and it's just
great.
like, no, just kidding.
Good time. Just put it on credit, like the Seinfeld credits or whatever. But no, like if you were to choose to like spawn at a court to have your to basically you become Feyre, you just you yourself, guy or gal, you just put on a wig and boom, you're now Feyre, and you go on to said court, and you would live in that court. What would you choose? I think I would choose either maybe the Dawn Court or the Winter Court,
Ooh.
mostly because I like snow. And Dawn
Okay.
Court, I just want to know more about the Dawn Court.
Actually, yeah. So that's a question for everyone. So
Yeah.
part of me wants the winter court, but I am a bitch when it gets below 72 degrees. So that obviously wouldn't work. Knowing my personality, I say night court.
Hmm.
But then I
But
think
ignoring the High Lords
no,
and
no,
their
no, no
status.
high lord or
Let's
no
say
anything.
everyone's at equal footing.
Yeah,
There's nothing extra. Everyone knows what's going on.
because I love the way Valeris looks personally, and I just think that that would
Mm,
be such a vibe. Like, I would
I don't blame
love
you.
to spend
I'm
my
with you.
entire life there. So maybe night court, or
Mhm.
maybe maybe autumn court. If I'm being honest with you.
Autumn is nice if it's not with the, Baron.
Oh,
Yeah, but we'll say all the High Lords, they're pretty,
oh,
neutral towards each other. There's no super bad vibes towards each other. But
except for
everyone's
Baron
mutual. Yeah, but
burn
we'll
it with
say
fire.
in this instance, everyone's mutual. They're new High Lords. They're all playing nice for the most part. They just care about them and themselves. Just everyone's minding their own business. In the perfect world.
I would love to
So
take a
it
trip
would
to the spring court just to like see its
nah.
beauty.
My allergies would have been like, you did,
Did
you did, you
like as
did.
soon as I get even remotely within range, I would just fall off the horse.
Yeah, the moment you step in the border and there's a blade of grass cut, just instant Yamcha into the
I
ground.
don't even think my horse would notice. I would just be on the ground. My horse would just go on its merry way.
Yeah, you just dragging along your body, like your foot is like caught on the saddle, and your dead body just being dragged either face down too as well, just to make it funnier.
I am
Just being
dead.
dragged all throughout Supreme Court. Nah, I would have gone in. My horse would have developed the same allergies I had, and then boom, we both just Yamcha right next to each other.
It would
just,
be
just,
horrible.
just
I
gone.
could not. I couldn't handle it.
Don't
I
get me
couldn't
wrong, it
handle
would have
it.
been pretty. I think Spring Court would probably be the prettiest out of all of them.
But I
Since
have a
we're all
theory about the
flowers
spring
through.
court in the
Uh-oh.
next video.
Next time on Night Court Narrative. I almost said Dragon Ball Z. Night Court Narrative.
Wait, I actually have a demon voice, but I can't figure out which button the demon voice is in.
It's the Demon Voice button.
It's
Everyone knows
either
that.
3 or 5.
It's 6. Definitely 6.
It's probably 3 or 5. I don't remember, but I was gonna do it earlier, but then I didn't want to look dumb.
It's okay.
Anywho, at least our audio worked this time.
Yes. This time my laptop is plugged in, but I'm using my PC, so
Uh,
just in case my laptop's plugged in this time.
But yes, I hope you enjoyed this video. I did see that Skelly has a theory, but I don't think they responded to me yet. So I am curious. The thing I mentioned last time still stands. If you guys have a theory,
Mhm.
specifically with the beginning of this book, please leave it down below. I would love to hear it. If it has anything
Let's.
to
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
if it has anything to do with like the later books or like later in this book, mention that you have a theory, but we'll get to it when we get to it. Yeah?
I mean, unless he has something earth-shattering to where it needs our immediate attention, and
Oh my
else
god,
we'll
yes.
die. Then definitely put that in the comments.
Oh my god, especially if it's one of
Definitely.
those, I would love
Yes, break
to hear
our
about
minds, just like Daddy Rye would.
it.
Oh, that reminds me. I just thought of something else. Here's another thing that could break not just us, but the commenters as well.
Okay.
you know how there's solar quartz and the spring and the weather quartz, the seasonal quartz, right?
Right.
Why is it the opposite? Okay, the opposite of day is night, right?
Okay.
The opposite of dawn is dusk.
Okay.
Why? Why is there not a dusk core?
I mean,
Think about it. Think
well,
about it.
because there's
Why? But there's dawn, which is the rising of the sun. But what about the setting of the sun?
wouldn't that
Hmm?
just be the night court then, though?
I mean, it could, but then would the dawn court would just be day court then.
The
Shut up. But you see what I'm saying, though.
Listen,
See,
it has been a rough day for speaking for both of us.
it has. It's been a long
This
day,
is
but
horrible.
but think about it. Think about it.
No, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you say that, okay, if there's dusk court for the setting sun, then obviously night court. Well, if there's the day court of the rise of the sun, then why is there a dawn court?
Well, okay, so is
Mm-hmm.
the dusk court a seasonal court? Yeah.
No, that'd be solar. Because dawn and dusk, those are times of this of this
Well,
of the
then
sun.
that would be its. But then why is it called? I didn't write the book.
Because the solar quartz is based on the rotation of the sun, this moon and the sun. So
Yeah.
obviously nighttime, it's night court. Daytime, day court. Dawn is the rising of the sun. That's the time of day. Dusk is the setting of the sun, a certain
Yeah.
time of day. So, but there's
Interesting.
opposites. The opposite of night is day. The opposite of dawn would be dusk.
I feel like this video is turning into shower thoughts with Aqua.
It is. This is great. Okay, now back again to the tooth fairies. And this is where we cut the
Oh
video.
my god.
Yeah. Anyways, that's it.
But yeah,
That's it for me.
so if you guys have anything, please leave it down below. We will
Mhm.
definitely be back for another 10 episodes of just this one book.
Definitely.
Maybe exaggerated a little bit, but it's fine.
2 of those are shower thoughts with Aqua, where I talk 2 hours about tooth fairies and calcium.
Just wait until I finally get him to read Credence, and then that's gonna be a
I'm excited yet terrified.
yeah.
Oh boy.
But yes,
Hot tomorrow, I'm sweating.
but I will personally see you guys in the next video.
Mhm.
You don't want to say bye?
Did I not sign in? Did you not hear me? I guess not. I'm a professional podcaster, guys. Definitely. Did not have a slight mic issue just for a second. Whoops.
I was about to say
yeah,
that's not
so,
very Aqua of you. I was like, okay,
nah,
hello,
that's it.
hello.
I'm full of Tamlin, not talk about it.
Oh.
Yo. Nah. I'm not gonna do that to my commenters. No.
See, if I could Photoshop, I would just like paste a Tamlin face over you when you said that. I can't do that though.
Ugh. Just put a PNG of Tamlin right there for like 3 seconds. That'll work.
Alrighty. Well,
Alright, y'all.
y'all have a
I'm
good
Aqua.
night. I am Elvish.
And you all have a good night. Until next time on Night Court Narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a good video.